The city was alive with the usual hum of ambition, but David felt like a ghost among the hurried suits and flashing screens. His interview was in an hour, and nerves gnawed at him more than hunger. He sat on the cold stone steps outside a towering glass building, clutching the only food he could afford, a simple sandwich. That's when he noticed her, a young woman, shoulders slumped, eyes red, sitting a few steps below like a soul abandoned by hope. Without thinking, he tore his sandwich in half and held it out. What he didn't know was someone was watching. Her mother, a powerful CEO. David sat on the steps and stared at the sandwich in his hands like it held answers to problems bigger than hunger. The paper wrapping was crumpled now, slightly greasy, a small luxury in a life where luxuries had disappeared 2 years ago. Since losing his wife, it had been just him and Lily, his little girl who still believed in magic while he fought every day to keep the lights on. He was deep in thought when a soft sound caught his ear, a sniffle, barely audible over the noise of traffic. He looked down and saw her. A girl, maybe 20, sitting 3 steps below, hunched like she wanted to fold into herself. Her hoodie was pulled tight, her face half hidden, but the tremor in her hands told him enough. David hesitated. He didn't know her story, and honestly, he had enough weight of his own. But something in those shaking fingers, the way she stared at the ground like it had betrayed her, tugged at him. "You okay?" he asked softly. She didn't look up, just nodded, though her body screamed the opposite. David swallowed, then unwrapped his sandwich, tore it cleanly in half, and held a piece out. "Here," he said. The girl blinked, startled, and for a moment he thought she'd refuse. But then she took it with a shaky, "Thank you." Her voice cracked like dry wood. "No problem," David said with a small smile. "Wes misery loves company, huh?" She gave the tiniest laugh, barely a sound, but it felt like sunlight cracking through clouds. They sat in silence, chewing slowly, like the simple act of eating together was a fragile truce against the chaos outside. David didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. He knew what it was like to break quietly where no one could see. What he didn't know was that someone did see. Just a few steps above, Samantha Reed stood frozen. The CEO of the glass giant behind them, she was used to owning rooms, commanding attention, bending time to her will. But right now, she couldn't move. Her daughter, her Emma, was sitting on the steps, eating a stranger's sandwich, and for the first time in years, Samantha had no script, no control. She had come down to find Emma after their fight. A storm of words about college, careers, and responsibility that had ended with Emma bolting from her office in tears. Samantha had followed in heels that clicked like accusations on marble floors. She'd expected to find her sulking. Not this. Not with him. The man didn't even glance back as Samantha stood there. He didn't know her name. Didn't know Emma was hers. Didn't know his simple act of kindness was about to turn all their worlds upside down. Emma nibbled at the sandwich, chewing like each bite was heavy. The warmth of the bread eased something small inside her, but the ache in her chest stayed. David noticed her hands shaking and, without a word, pushed his coffee cup toward her. "It's just black," he said gently. She hesitated, then took it, cupping her fingers around the cardboard sleeve like it was life itself. "Thanks. Name's David," he offered after a moment. "Emma," she murmured. "Pretty name," he said with a crooked smile. "My little girl's Lily. She's 7. Smart as a whip, bossy as a queen." Emma's lips curved faintly. "She's lucky." David chuckled softly. "Not sure about that. I burn pancakes, mess up braids, and sometimes forget picture day. But I try." Emma swallowed hard. "At least someone tries," she thought bitterly. Before she could answer, a familiar voice slid into the space like ice water. "Emma?" Her stomach dropped. She looked up slowly, and there was her mother, impeccable as always, heels clicking against the stone, eyes sharp but lined with something Emma couldn't name. David turned, startled. He took in the woman's expensive coat, her perfect hair, and knew instantly she wasn't someone you bumped into at a bus stop. "Mum," Emma said flatly. "Come upstairs," Samantha said, her tone softer than usual, but still carrying that quiet authority that ran her empire. Emma's laugh came out brittle. "To do what? Listen to another lecture about how I'm ruining the family name, or how painting will never pay the bills." David froze. This wasn't his business. He started to rise. "I should. Stay." Emma said suddenly, looking at him like it was an anchor in a storm. Samantha's eyes flicked to him, assessing, then back to Emma. "We can talk. In private." "No," Emma shot back, standing now, her voice trembling with anger. "You don't get to talk at me anymore." David's gut told him to walk away, but his heart overruled. "Maybe," he said carefully, "she just needs some space to figure things out. Sometimes that's all it takes." Both women turned to look at him. He expected a glare from the mother, maybe even security to drag him out. Instead, Samantha just stared, something flickering in her eyes. A crack in the armor. Emma was breathing hard. Samantha's shoulders softened, almost imperceptibly. "Emma," she said quietly, the CEO voice gone now. "Please." Emma hesitated, then gave David a small nod, like she wanted him to know she'd be okay. She climbed the steps slowly. Samantha followed but paused, turning back. "Thank you," she said simply, meeting David's eyes. He shrugged, awkward. "Wasn't much. Just a sandwich." But Samantha knew it was more than that. David's interview didn't go well. The man across the desk had smiled politely, asked about his employment gap, and then sent him off with the dreaded words, "We'll be in touch." By the time David stepped out of the building, the sky was bruised with dusk. He shoved his hands into his jacket pockets, wondering how long before his luck ran out completely. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hello? Mr. David Collins?" a crisp voice asked. "Yes, this is Laura, assistant to Samantha Reed, CEO of Reed Global. Reed would like to see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. David blinked. What for?" "She'll explain in person." The line clicked dead. He stood there on the sidewalk, staring at his phone like it had spoken a foreign language. Samantha Reed, the woman from the steps. The next morning, he walked into that glass fortress like a man walking into another world. He felt every scuff on his shoes, every threadbare patch on his jacket. When the elevator opened to the top floor, Samantha was waiting. "David," she said warmly, extending a hand. Her office was a palace of glass and sunlight. David shifted in the leather chair, feeling smaller than ever. "I wanted to thank you," Samantha began, "for yesterday." "You don't have to," he said quickly. It was just kindness," she finished, "something this world forgets." She slid a folder toward him. Inside was an offer letter. Position, operations coordinator. Salary, more than he'd dared dream. David stared. I don't understand." "You need a chance," Samantha said simply. "And I need people I can trust." David walked out of Rebel in a daze, the offer letter clutched like a golden ticket. He thought of Lily, how he'd finally be able to buy her the art set she'd begged for, how maybe, just maybe, life was turning. That evening, he picked her up from school and hugged her so tightly she squealed. "Daddy, you're squishing me!" He laughed, his throat thick. "Just making sure you know you're loved." Afar away, in a penthouse that smelled of cocoa and second chances, Emma and Samantha sat across from each other, really talking for the first time in years. No raised voices, no judgment, just words and the quiet knowledge that love doesn't have to mean control. And in the middle of it all was a man who had nothing to give but half a sandwich, and gave everything that mattered.